Hi, fourth grade. So today we are going to review RACE, which is a strategy that we learned earlier in the year that helps us when we are answering open-ended questions. So whenever we're asked a question and we know we have to either write or type an answer, then we can use RACE to help us format that answer into a really good paragraph with lots of evidence and good details. So today we are just going to review everything we've already learned about RACE. So follow along on the screen here while we look at what this means. The R in RACE stands for restate the question. And it tells us on the screen here, to restate the question, you use words from the question to begin your answer. And the question word, whether it's who, what, why, where, when, or how, that question word is what you will fill in when you write your answer. So let's look at a couple examples down here. The first example we see says, what is the main idea of the story? So if you were asked this question, you would write or type your answer by saying, the main idea of the story is, and then that fill in the blank spot there is where you would put your answer to the question. The second example says, why was Joshua motivated to get a good grade? If you were answering this question by either writing it or typing it, you would write, Joshua was motivated to get a good grade because, and then you'd fill in the blank with your answer. Where did Ethan misplace his house keys? Ethan misplaced his house keys at. When did Emily realize that she had studied for the wrong test? Emily realized that she had studied for the wrong test when, and then you'd fill in your answer there again. So restating just means putting the question back into a statement by using words from the question to formulate the beginning of your first sentence in RACE. So that is called restating the question when you do this, like the examples did just here in this slide. Okay, the next part we're going to talk about is answering the question. We learned that answering the question just means put your answer in that fill in the blank spot that we saw on the previous slide. When you answer the question, you have to make sure that you understand exactly what the question is asking you. You may need to reread the question if needed. You should probably underline or circle keywords in the question that help to make sure that you answer it correctly. So sometimes finding those keywords will help you locate the answer in the text, or it will help you make sure that you know what you are looking for whenever you're trying to think of your answer. Next thing tells us we need to make sure we answer all parts of the question. We may need to use vocabulary from the text in your answer. And it says you have to use specific character names, so you don't want to use pronouns unless you've already introduced the character in your answer. You have to write your answer as if the reader has not read the question or the story. And you need to be detailed. So that's a lot, but whenever you answer the question, you want to make sure that your answer is correct. So you really have to think about all these parts to get a strong answer for this step of RACE. Okay, citing evidence, citing text evidence. This is going to be a big part of RACE that we talk a lot about this week. So citing text evidence is a very important job. Your job in this step is to find evidence from the text and to cite it in your answer. So you can use some of these phrases here that you see. These are examples of phrases that can help you start to create your answer. You might say, for example, the author of whatever the title of your text is stated that, and then fill in some piece of evidence from the text that's strong evidence. You might then say, for the next piece of evidence, according to the text, and then fill in your answer with a good sentence from the text. There's lots of examples here that you could possibly use when you are citing evidence, and like I said, we're going to learn a lot more about these this week. So just know for now that whenever we cite evidence from the text, we need to at least have 2 strong details from the text to support our answer whenever we're citing evidence. So here are several other examples. Okay, the last step of RACE, the E step of RACE, stands for explain your text evidence. And this slide tells us that having evidence to support your answer is very important, but it is just as important to explain your evidence. And here are some sentence stems that you can use for your very last sentence of race. These are some examples of ideas you might use to wrap up your answer. Like, for example, it says the evidence means, or this evidence proves, or this evidence shows me. So here are just a few others that you can read through and look at. But whenever we go through race this week, we're going to be talking a lot about how to wrap our answers up with a really strong reason or example to explain why that evidence is important. So those are just the steps of race. You needed to see just the outline that we have to follow. There's a lot to it, but we need to become very good at doing these for the rest of the year. So we're going to get a lot of practice this week and in the following few weeks here to practice writing our answers in this race format.